Hi, I'm Teresa and I am the principal of FU School. First, I'm going to explain the school context. The school includes students from 0 to 12 years old, and it is located in a peripheral urban area of a medium-sized city. The neighborhood socioeconomic level is quite low, and there are working families with unstable schedules. In our school, we have approximately 400 students with 2 classes per grade, and there are many students in each class. There is a lot of student diversity. There is cultural and linguistic diversity because of immigration, and in many houses, the language that they speak is different to Spanish, and there's also a lot of religious diversity. There are students with special needs, such as dyslexia or dyscalculia, and there is also socioeconomic diversity, with many children having little access to digital resources and support from their families. And the families are very diverse also, with single-parent households, grandparents as the main caregivers, and little support and participation from the families. I have introduced this prompt and our school context to the AI, and it gave me 10 measures that we could use in our school. I have chosen 5, the ones that I like the most, and now I'm going to explain them. Most teachers feel overwhelmed, so minimizing workload would be the main solution to reduce stress. In a school with many students, diversity, special needs, and families with difficulties, teachers spend a lot of time with paperwork. Reducing unnecessary tasks and sharing responsibilities helps teachers feel less stressed. This measure is supported by LOMLOE Article 121, which promotes redistribution, and by Article 91, which includes coordination as part of a teacher's responsibilities. It is limited because some administrative tasks are compulsory. Teachers are the main ones affected because their workload is reduced. Students are also indirectly benefited because teachers have more time and energy to spend on them. This measure changes teacher-to-teacher relationships because there is more collaboration and less individual pressure. Teacher-to-student relationships are also impacted because teachers have more time for them. This school has many students with learning difficulties, and some speak different languages. Co-teaching helps because 2 teachers in a classroom can support different needs. Flexible grouping helps because it avoids labeling students and lets them learn at their own pace. It is supported by LOMLOE Articles 71 and 72, which promote inclusive education within the classroom, and by Article 74, which supports inclusion instead of segregation. Teachers benefit because it is difficult for them to attend all the students' needs, as there are classrooms with lots of students, and students also benefit because they receive more attention. Teacher-to-teacher relationships are impacted because they need to coordinate more, and this strengthens teamwork. Also, teacher-to-student relationships are impacted because it permits more connection between both parties. This measure is appropriate because to adopt a more inclusive approach, it is necessary for teachers to get together and share ideas and plans. It also reduces stress for them as they feel they're not alone. This measure is supported by LOMLOE Article 91, which says that coordination is part of a teacher's responsibilities. All teaching staff are involved, and students benefit because teachers plan more coherent and inclusive activities. Teacher-to-teacher relationships are improved because they communicate more. Teacher-to-student relationships are indirectly impacted also. The school assessment shows that teachers lack training in inclusive education. With so much diversity, teachers need practical tools so as to deal with the different needs. This measure helps them know what to do in the different situations that they can have in a classroom. This measure is supported by LOMLOE Article 102, which states that teacher training is a right and a duty. Teachers are directly involved. Students benefit because teachers are better prepared to support them. Teacher to teacher, as they go through these practical classes learning together. But more importantly, teacher-to-student relationships are impacted because teachers understand better how to deal with each student. Student behavior is one of the main causes of teacher stress. Having shared rules helps teachers manage classes in a better way. It is supported by l'OMLOE Article 124, which states that schools must have a plan de convivencia. This article promotes prevention and correction measures if someone breaks the rules. Teachers, students, school leadership, and sometimes families are involved. Teacher-to-student relationships improve because expectations are clearer and more fair. Also, student-to-student relationships are impacted because this framework promotes a more positive atmosphere. Even though the measures focus a lot on inclusion, some types of diversity are missing. For example, religious diversity is not clearly addressed in any measure, and it can affect school organization and school daily life. Personal backgrounds of students, like immigration or family situations, are not explored in depth. And also, the proposal does not explain enough about teachers' methods in the classroom, focusing more on organization. Most relationships are well covered in the measures. However, the relationship between teachers and the principal are oversimplified. The proposal assumes that the school leadership is always supportive, but it does not consider possible conflicts or lack of communication. This is important because many important decisions depend on the leadership, and this can affect teacher well-being. Teaching today's classrooms is a complex educational challenge because teachers are expected to respond at the same time to multiple forms of diversity while working with limited time, resources, and often with resistance to change. For example, cognitive diversity is very complex to deal with. Students do not learn in the same way, and many present neurodivergent profiles. These include conditions such as dyslexia, dyscalculia, and ADHD. Teachers must adapt classroom organization so that these students can learn without lowering expectations for other students. A second key dimension is socioeconomic and cultural diversity, often intensified by immigration. Students may come from very different economical backgrounds, with unequal access to learning materials, family support, or stable living conditions. In response to this situation, one important decision schools must take is whether to adopt a co-educational approach, keeping students in the same classroom with differentiated support, or a more traditional model, where a specialist takes certain students out of the classroom for individualized attention. Many schools advocate for co-education, arguing that inclusion promotes equity and social integration. However, this decision generates a clear tension or dilemma. Some teachers and families show reticence to change, believing that pull-out support is more effective. At the same time, inclusion does not mean less work for any teacher. On the contrary, co-education demands more planning, collaboration, and training from teachers. The dilemma lies in balancing inclusion with workload and different beliefs about what constitutes an effective learning. As principal, I would like to use 3 key organizational decisions to improve inclusion and coexistence. The first decision would be to organize students using flexible grouping and co-teaching. This decision is complex because there is a tension between inclusion and academic demands. Teachers may worry that mixed groups slow down learning. The main actors involved are class teachers, support teachers, students, and the management team. An unexpected consequence could be that some teachers feel uncomfortable or fear losing autonomy. The second decision would be to reorganize schedules to include collaborative planning within working hours. This is complex because there's a dilemma between teaching time and planning time. The main actors are teachers, the leadership team, and indirectly students. A possible unexpected consequence could be that if this time is not well structured, it could become ineffective. And the third decision would be to establish a behavior and coexistence framework for the whole school. It is complex because it requires balancing clear rules while understanding students' backgrounds. The actors involved are teachers, students, families, and leadership. One unexpected consequence could be that the rules are applied too rigidly, affecting inclusion. All these decisions reflect a collaborative and inclusive leadership approach, and the focus is on the teacher and the students' well-being. As principal, I would support teachers and try to make an atmosphere where inclusion is available, and I would reduce stress. I think I deserve a 9 out of 10. I have tried to pour all the knowledge that I have learned in this course into this test, reflecting on school organization and attention to diversity, underlining how complex it is to make decisions in a school. I also critically analyzed the proposal, pointing out its limits and its missing aspects. The most crucial idea about school organization that I have learned in this course is how complex it is. I didn't realize before how many things you have to bear in mind when organizing how a school works. I appreciate it has made me realize this, and that it has helped me be more curious about all the factors we have to take into account in order to have a more inclusive classroom. As I said before, I couldn't imagine how complex school organization is. For me, this has been one of the central ideas of this course, and all we have done has helped us explore the complexity of taking into account all the factors of a school when making decisions that actually work. The most crucial idea about attention to diversity that I have learned in this course is that all people in a school must be taken into account, not just the students. Teachers, the management team, the principal should also be considered because they are very important for the effective performance of the school. Yes, I am much more aware about the relevance of attending to diversity. This course has shown me that diversity is not only about students with learning difficulties, but about every single student. I have learned that if diversity is not properly addressed, it affects the whole school system, including coexistence and workload. Preparing this video has helped me analyze a school situation more critically and in depth, and to understand how important it is to justify each decision. So that's all. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.